Take a pit stop for all things NASCAR with the Four Tire Change podcast. Here is your host, Dawson Iserloh.
What's going on, everybody? We're back with a quick edition of the Four Tire Change podcast, ESPN Southwest Louisiana here on YouTube. Once again, I appreciate everybody for liking, commenting, subscribing, keeping things rolling here as the NASCAR Cup Series schedule rolls on. It's an interesting week when it comes to NASCAR. Of course, we talked about this a little bit last week. The race at Michigan ended up, kind of a solid race, right? Denny Hamlin gets back into victory lane. Good for him. I think, he's had an interesting season, an up and down one, but certainly has put himself back into the realm of contention. Of course, searching for that elusive championship. Did a nice job kind of outlasting some of the competition. He had some really good battles early on in that race and throughout the middle portions. And ultimately, look, Hamlin caught a couple of breaks here and there and found a way to get a big-time win, to get himself really back in the mix, gain those 5 crucial playoff points, and keep charging ahead. But we did talk a good bit about it last week. It is an interesting week in that they're going to Mexico. I believe it's the first time since the 50s that they've raced outside. Look, the most interesting thing about this for me was the logistics of the whole situation. It is not, I say as simple, right? When the NFL goes over to Europe, it's not simple, but it is something that at this point, they know what they're doing. They're bringing equipment, they're bringing players, but they're not bringing race cars, right? They're not bringing equipment that is not easily transferred, is not easily transported, needs 18-wheelers to get across country lines to get there. That's what this was, and they went from Michigan. Again, I get it, the Cup Series schedule, like the way that they try to do some of the summer races in the northern cities, there had to be an easier way than Michigan. But regardless, whatever. They found their way across. There were some cool pictures, some shots of them essentially crossing the border, all the haulers getting ready to roll. The Xfinity Series doing it as well. It was a big surprise to me. You talk about a lot of the cost-saving measures that they've done in the past. I didn't think the Xfinity Series would go, but they found a way to pull it off, so more power to them. Apparently, by the way, there's been some delays, some mix-ups with some flights, so the weekend schedule's been moved around a little bit. The Xfinity cars are going to get on the track a day later, but they'll get that figured out. The Xfinity race will be Saturday evening. Cup race, of course, will be on Sunday. As far as the actual racing is concerned, I obviously don't know much at all about this course. It is going to be a road course. I have more faith in NASCAR based on what they pulled off in Chicago, even to an extent what they pulled off in Los Angeles. I know it wasn't a road course, but the ability to build a track, put it there. This is a place that has a stadium section. It's much more suited for NASCAR racing than what they did in the Chicago street course situation, where they basically had to create it in a way from scratch, right, with some modifications. So I hope the racing is good and I hope it's fun. Growing the sport, getting another audience. Obviously, NASCAR's done some stuff in other countries as far as the developmental series, but bringing the main deal, bringing the actual Cup Series drivers and cars, man, that's big. It is a homecoming for Daniel Suarez. It'd be awesome to see him run well. It's obviously going to be a big focus. He's going to run the Xfinity Series as well in the number 9 car for Junior Motorsports, and then, of course, he'll be in his typical number 99 for Trackhouse Racing in the Cup race. I wonder what the pressure he's feeling is like this week. It's got to be unique for him. And I mentioned it. Look, he's been a driver who's certainly had his fair share of struggles, the ups and downs, gets the big win in Atlanta last year. Did that kind of help him get another contract or, not be let go? Maybe so. Hasn't been a great season for him this year. Now, obviously, he's well outperformed his teammate Shane Van Gisbergen, who's really gotten an introduction to oval racing in a big way this year and not in the way that he necessarily wanted it to. So, Ross Chastain's kind of carried the way for that team. And now they've got an opportunity where Daniel could pick up this momentum. You're going to a road course section of the schedule where you're going to have a few of these things mixed in. And that is a stronger suit for Suarez. We've seen him win there in the past. It's also a stronger suit for Shane Van Gisbergen. And I think it has to be brought up. Like, as bad as he's been this year, he's, second to last in points of the charter drivers. And I know charters are technically not happening for 2311 and front row, but I'm going to count them in that conversation, right? We know SVG can win at this track. We know he's got a great chance. He's going to be close to, if not the betting favorite in Mexico. And he's going to be the same when they go back to some of the other tracks on the circuit that they have in the future, right, with Watkins Glen and things of that nature. That'd be a full-blown stolen playoff bid. So these guys in the field do not want to see him win this race. And, nobody near the bubble wants to see him do it. The drivers who are comfortably in the playoffs at the top, maybe they wouldn't care as much because it'd just be a driver that probably doesn't have a great chance to move forward in the playoffs. It is personally why I was a fan of the top 30 points requirement for playoff drivers, even when you got it was in with a win, but you did have to at least be top 30. They removed that, so now he's going to be in if he wins a race, and that's how it is. Obviously, AJ Allmendinger's another one who's actually got a chance to be in on points regardless. He's going to have an opportunity to win this thing. And then there's a massive number of drivers in this field who have proven that they can win on a road course given the right circumstances. My pick, I'm going to go lame. I'm going to go Kyle Larson. I just think Larson has had such a weird month with the way the double went or didn't go, and the way that the last couple races have gone in the Cup Series side of things. I think he's still kind of out to prove some stuff. He's got the global appeal, right? He's a bigger name, and he's done some things that are really massive. And I wonder if being down in Mexico gives Larson an opportunity to showcase that to a new set of fans, and maybe he's on his A game because of that. But certainly, look, I think SVG's got a really, really good shot to win this thing. I go back and forth. Like, I'd be fine with him winning. I like the guy. I really do. I think he's got a chance to be a good Cup Series driver at some point. Obviously, he's not there right now, and he's had a brutal season, and he's had I felt like certainly he maybe could have spent one more year in the Xfinity Series to fine-tune his skills, but at the same time, they wanted him to get the experience in the Cup car. They had the ride. They were able to make it work, so they did it, and now he's learning the hard way. But going to be fun, and look, it's unique, it's new. If it doesn't work, it's not like NASCAR is tied into going to Mexico for the next 10 years. Like, they can figure this thing out. So for that, I'm not upset by it. I'm excited to see what it looks like, and I really, really don't know what to expect. So that's sometimes a good thing when it comes to the NASCAR Cup Series. It's going to be interesting. We'll take a look most likely next week at the points situation where the bubble is. I think this has a potential to move some things around, right, if we get a surprise winner. So next week will be a good time to do that. But until then, we appreciate the coverage. Continue to like, comment, subscribe. It's a 4-tire change. NASCAR heading to Mexico. We're rolling forward.